I'm honored to be joined by the one and only Gary Holt, legend from Exodus and of recent years with Slayer. How you doing, mate?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, man. Thanks for asking. And you've just finished a run with Exodus in the States. How was that, and how good is it to be back home?
It's all the tour was awesome. It was a short tour, it's awesome being back home. It's gorgeous. I'm looking out my office window and it's like I live in a forest basically, so I'm looking out and just a sea of trees and it's awesome. And I leave in a week and a half.
No, yeah, of course, you're straight back on it. What's it like when you get back home? Is it a case of just getting your clothes clean and getting your shit together, getting some better sleep? What was it like?
Actually I get plenty of sleep on tour, because the bus is outside. I go take a nap whenever I want.
Yeah, but
Um,
there's something like your own bed, though, Gary.
No, there's nothing like it, but man, I'm telling you, I've always slept great on a bus because it's like a cold coffin, it's like a layer of vampires, and like you keep it cold so you sleep comfortably and it's dark and you got vents that blow air on you when you want it. You just reach up and close it. It's like I sleep good.
Yeah,
Vampire.
yeah. So you live in the
But
forest.
yeah,
Do you live
yeah.
near Tom then, or because I had Tom on the show a few years ago now, when you were doing the on the persona non grata press stuff. Do you live near him?
No, Tom's a few hours from me. He's up in the mountains.
Right,
I'm in the foothills.
right.
He's pretty far from me, and he's really isolated. Small town. It has everything you could want. But me, where I live, if you were blindfolded and dropped here, you'd think you were out in like deep woods. But I'm at the mall in 30 minutes.
Right.
If I so choose, or I'm at Starbucks in 10
Yeah.
minutes.
Nice. Do you
But
like do you,
it's perfect.
do you like that
Awesome.
isolation then?
Yeah, I mean, because for me, I'm not that isolated. The whole point.
No.
Like,
No.
but where I live, it's country quiet, country dark, and very few people. It's awesome.
Cool, cool. So you've just done obviously some recent shows for Bonded by Blood as well, which is celebrating 40 years. Can you believe that's 40 years? Did you ever think that
Yeah.
back in the day that you'd be doing that 40 years later?
No, no. I mean, it's crazy. I was 21 years old when that came out, and I just turned 61. I was 20 when it came out, because I turned 61 slightly after.
Yeah.
And here I am. I'm still out on tour and stuff. So it's kind of crazy to think about it because, we never thought that far in the future
Yeah, of
back then.
course.
We just, wondered where our next, bottle of booze, the next bag of weed was coming from.
So you just done those like an Exodus run without doing bonded shows. You did those like as a special thing, right? You didn't carry it through on the tour.
No, we did two shows. We did Berkeley, basically our hometown,
Yeah,
and in Los Angeles.
yeah.
We hope to expand on it later, but not that much. So we've always been super selective. We've only ever done it once before, where we were requested to play the whole album, and we did
Was
it.
that 30 years or 20?
No, I don't even remember how long what if it was any anniversary. It was just
Right.
we played Hellfest once, like
Yeah.
a lot of years ago, like 20 years ago, and we played it. And but we don't do it often. It's the only
Mm,
time we've done it.
yeah.
And
And what's
we might do some one-offs here and there with it,
yeah,
but
of course.
probably whether we do a full tour or not, it's a lot of variables. Next year we have a new album that'll be out, and so we want to support that.
Yeah, we'll get into that. And obviously you got Rob back as well. How good is it having him
Yeah,
back in the fold? Is it cool?
it's totally awesome. We're laughing all day long. It's good times. And Rob's like one of my favorite singers in the world, and when people hear what he does on the new album, they're gonna shit their pants.
Really?
So much variety to his voice now, and he's just like always has had that gift to keep us laughing. He's funny as fuck, the
Yeah.
sense of humor. It's like
Yeah, of course.
and we're thrilled, like we wish Zetra well, and every band relationship is like a marriage, and sometimes marriages end, and they don't always end
Sure.
in a acrimonious divorce.
Mhm.
Sometimes they end on some fairly good terms, and just considering the past history. We've all grown up and become much more mature now. And I'm 61 years old. I don't want to do this anymore unless everybody's on the same page.
I get that. Of course. Of course. Obviously, with the bonded shows aside in this tour, with more albums coming in, how do you set the set list these days? Sticking with the shows, is it democratic or is it whatever you and Tom want or
No,
whatever?
it's democratic. Like I usually do it, but I share it with the guys. And like on the recent tour, like since we did have some festival shows with varying set lengths in there, Rob would say, "Can you move this one earlier?" Yeah, I'd like to do it when I'm fresher in the set. Okay, and
Yeah,
or some Lee will say, "No, we need to play this one," and but it gets harder. We're coming up on a dozen albums. How do you put together sometimes a 35-minute set?
sure.
Like
I know. I
fucking
can
not
imagine.
hard, especially when you're a band like us. Sometimes your songs are 10 minutes long.
Yeah, yeah. I
So,
know, I know, I know. So
yeah, yeah.
you've mentioned the new album, but should we say albums? Because I believe you've written and recorded some shit hot new material. You've completed
19 songs,
19 tracks, and you're in
and
post
they're all
production.
killer. I mean, in the past, I've always like, you read about this band. Yeah, we went in the studio, we had 39 songs, and like, how do you have no? How do you have 39 great songs?
Mm.
To me, that's like you usually have, you know, maybe 20 and some ideas,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
but I realized that it is possible, at least 19, because Lee was really active as a songwriter on this album,
yeah,
and he contributed like, 6 songs, something like that.
yeah.
And we had 19 songs and they're all awesome. The hard part is figuring out what to put on the record.
S-
And so we figured we can tour for the next album and then take a break in between releases and have it already in the can.
So this is in post production now, ready to roll.
We still have some vocals left to do. We ran out of a little bit of time, not a
Yeah,
whole lot, a couple of
yeah,
songs. A couple of things we have left to do are on songs that we know we're going to put on the next album, so we could sit on that. And
yeah,
I'm sure by the time we get to thinking about releasing the second one, I'll have something new I want to record. Lee'll
yeah.
have something. We're like, damn, well, I got something way sicker. But then we go in the studio for 2 weeks and not 2 months.
Yeah, of course. So from a fan's point of view, and this is completely my perspective as well. So this album you're going to put out first, how are you going to say which are your favorites? Because you'd assume that that first album of 9 or 10 tracks is going to be the best ones that you like, or are you going to try and how do you kind of like split it down?
We're still working on it.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
we're letting vocals dictate a lot of it, and there's a couple of songs that still don't have vocals on it. And, sometimes when you put the vocal melody on it, the song comes alive,
Changes. Yeah.
you
Yeah, of
know,
course.
like, and so some of them we know we want on this record. Like I wrote 2 epics, like longer ones, so we'll put one on this and one on the other. And
Yeah.
I, I, I fluctuate back and forth over which one all the time, but everybody else wants to put this one, so I said, "Cool, we'll save the other." And
Awesome.
there's a big variety of song music on it. The some of the shit's like so lightning fast, and some of it's like almost doom. It's like
Really?
yeah, it's like slow, slow,
Very
slow,
cool. Very cool. So when it comes to
super fucking sinister.
I think we saw each other in January at NAM, and
Yeah.
you've got. I think were you in the recording phase then? Is that what? Sorry, you were in the
No, we
writing
were
phase then.
preparing. I was writing. Like we didn't go into the studio till like March
Yeah.
2nd.
So with writing, how do you approach it? Do you have to be in a certain space? Are you always writing? Do you have to have a certain time, or because I know you're a late night guy when it comes to your lyrics, right, and stuff like that.
Yeah, like early morning. Um, I'm not always right. I'm always writing a riff when I have a guitar, but as far as songwriting, I keep telling myself I want to do more of it all the time, not just when I have to. Because you get 61 years old, you start thinking about stupid shit like like what if anything happens to me? I'd like to be like Prince and have a vault of material to release. His
Yeah.
final works.
Yeah.
You just literally start thinking about shit like that.
Yeah.
But I get in the writing mode. Like when we record, we leave the drums set up the entire time. We don't go in and do drums and then they go away.
Yeah.
We're prepared to record a new song at any day. And
Mm.
like the fastest fucking one on the album, it's just ridiculous. I wrote in the last 2 weeks of recording. I sent it to Tom, and he had a panic attack when he heard how fast it was. And
Right.
then when we cracked it, he realized it was fine.
What can you liken it to from your previous works? Is anything you can liken it to, or is it just, moving
Well,
forward?
we tend to work like this all the time.
Right.
We 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 usually, like, we did this album in an actual recording studio, but we
Yeah.
rented an Airbnb and we lived in it. And the house is full of guitars and electronic drum set, and we keep writing.
Yeah.
The past albums we've done the same thing, but we always did the drums first. Except it wasn't until Persona that we leave the drums up the whole time. So because it's never fair on the drummer that when his drums are done, he can't revisit it.
Change it. No, I know. I'm a
I
drummer
could play
myself.
this
I know
better,
that. I know that.
but I could go in and do a solo over 10 times. So
Yeah.
this way he could live with it, and I want to take a crack at that song again. Go for it.
Yeah. That's
Drums
cool.
are mic'd up and ready to go.
That's cool. That's cool. We'll come back to Exodus, but let's move on to Slayer for a few minutes, if you don't mind. How surprised were you to get the call that, is going out again? I mean, I'm sure you've heard this question a million times, but I haven't heard your answer. What was the call? Who made it? And what happened? How did it happen?
Well, I just get a call from the powers that be, same as last year, that Slayer is going to return for a couple shows, and I'm like, yay, it's fucking awesome. And last year was really rad and killer, and we were really good. Like, I say that in all due humility. We were really fucking good, but we
Mm.
worked real hard on it. When I got news of it, I rehearsed every Slayer song I'd ever played,
Right.
you know,
Okay.
in anticipation of whatever the set list was. If I played it, I'm ready to play it.
Yeah. Is
And
this
then once Kerry gave me the set list, I was able to eliminate, you know, 20 something songs or 30 songs or whatever, and
yeah,
just concentrate on the
focus.
set.
I get it.
Yeah, and the same this time, and and it's worked out perfectly. It's awesome for the fans, and it doesn't interrupt my life in Exodus, because I'm really happy to be back doing that. But I'm really happy to play the Slayer stuff again, because
Yeah.
they're my family too.
Do you still feel, do you still have a honeymoon? Are you still in the honeymoon phase with Slayer? Like when you've done hundreds of shows, right, with them, right? I suppose.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
are you
And
still in the
there's
are you still in the phase where you still like, this is so fucking cool? Or is it like, business as usual now?
when the pyro goes off at production days, that's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah.
I mean, as a kid, you dream of that shit. As a young guitar player, you write riffs. I always have
Yeah.
written songs with, like, what I call flash pot moments in mind.
Yeah.
And that leads to the dynamics in the music when you're imagining giant crescendos that equate to things blowing up. And so I've shit on fire. It's pretty close.
And what tracks do you,
Flamethrower moments.
of course. Wait, I think I read somewhere that you enjoy playing the earlier Slayer stuff most. Is that still the case, or are you more broad now?
Well, I really love playing some of the Show No Mercy stuff. I love that
Yeah.
stuff, because that was the album that I discovered the band. Bailoff and I, we like, you gotta check this out. The sickest thing ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the Antichrist, one of my favorite songs ever. I love playing that. But
Yeah.
my favorite song is Hell Awaits. I love playing that fucking song.
Absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Now it's
And
so
then,
cool.
now everything's on fire on that
Yeah.
one. It's
Yeah.
fucking
Yeah. I
nuts.
can believe it.
So I love it. It's awesome. South of Heaven. So
Yeah. Of course.
some of them we've played in the past that I love, but they're a fucking nightmare to play. Shit like Ditto Head.
Yeah.
Fucking songs fast.
Yeah, that is fucking fast.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, it's so cool because obviously my son is a massive Slayer fan and he's never got to see Slayer because of his age. And now you give him the opportunity. How cool is it with a complete new, that crowd? I'll be at Finsbury Park. I'm coming to the London show. I'm flying in for it, and to
No,
see
right
that,
on, right on.
and to see that show with dads and kids and all sorts. It must just be special for you, right? To see the
It,
the
it is.
generational.
Like the Aftershock show we did, two of my grandkids got to watch Grandpa do that, and I didn't. It was their first and only concert, and I wasn't sure how they'd respond, and they fucking went berserk the whole
Yeah,
show. They were spinning and jumping, and my
yeah,
grandson was like conjuring fire. He's like standing in the
yeah.
back at it, but he didn't know the cues, so he's going like this, and I got it on video. He's like that, and then he
That's so
stopped,
cool.
then it goes, and then he's like
That's
that, like.
it's cool.
And it
What a
was
moment.
awesome. And you see it in the crowd too. You see this whole generation that just missed out on
That's right.
seeing Slayer live, and you see parents really really enjoying sharing this with their offspring. So it's
Mm.
special for sure.
And obviously, these few gigs, especially the London, the Wales one as well, is obviously tied into the Sabbath gig, this show of the century, shall we say? No fucker can get tickets for love nor money. This event in Birmingham. How cool is it going to be to be involved in that?
It's pretty fucking cool. It's the honor isn't lost on me. Because where would all of us be without Black Sabbath?
Yeah,
I don't know. Where would heavy metal be without them?
yeah,
Tony Iommi invented the metal riff, and the whole band just what they gave to to music, to hard and heavy music. It's like you can't put it into words. So I'm super thrilled. I have a brand new pair of Masters of Reality Converse shoes. I've had
really,
it sitting, never worn.
ready
They're
to
getting
go.
worn that night. Yeah, just for that one show I'm
I
wearing
mean,
them.
how do you approach a show like that? Because I mean, it's a star-studded event. Hopefully, it's going to be streamed at some point. Hopefully, well, those people that couldn't go going to get a chance to see it. Do you approach it the same way as you would other shows, or have you not even considered it?
I don't know. I've just started like going through some of the Slayer songs, so I look at it as a show. But sometimes things of that magnitude don't really hit me till I'm there,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I see.
or even after when it's over. Then it's like, wow, that was awesome. It's like the final show at the LA Forum was just a blur. It wasn't until after I got to really reflect on
Yeah. I see.
10 years with the guys.
Yeah, of course. And with the Sabbath show, is there a special memo for that? Do you have a certain things to do? Have you got to do certain things, or is it just like all hush hush, or is it a pure Slayer set?
I don't know yet.
Oh,
We'll figure
okay.
that out. I
Because there's going to
don't
be a
know.
lot of bands wanting to do some Sabbath covers as well, I'm sure.
Yeah, I have no idea. I have a lot of Slayer songs to practice right now, but I'll be practicing them as I go along in Europe as well. Because I fly from the end of the Exodus tour straight to
Right, that's
Australia.
cool. Now, obviously, before we go into your book, which I want to get into, I wanted to just mention about the Kerry King saying a few weeks ago that, he didn't recruit you for his band because he didn't want people critiquing him for making it too Slayer, like Slayer without Tom. Did you respect him for that? I mean, was that something you expected?
Yeah, I mean, I've spent I had spent 10 years with Exodus, using what I always called my stunt double, and stuff. And I was fully ready to do that again. And yeah, I mean, if Carrie, myself, and Paul done a band, it's just kind of Slayer light, I
Yeah,
guess, like Diet
yeah,
Slayer. Um, but I'm doing my own thing, and I'm perfectly happy. And Carrie, the band's called Kerry King.
that's right.
It's fucking
It's,
awesome and
it is
killer,
awesome.
and
It is
I'm
awesome.
doing my own shit in this new
Yeah,
Exodus. Fucking awesome.
that's,
It's like,
yeah, cannot wait for
I mean,
that. Now,
it's fucking so killer and so catchy too. This new record, it's rad.
awesome.
And the fans are happy. They get to see a little Slayer every now
Yeah,
and then.
yeah.
It's a year by year thing. I don't know if these will be the last ever. I have no idea.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, you
As
never
of
say
right now,
never.
they've all fell on gaps where I had time to do it.
Yeah, that's fortunate. That's
Because
fortunate.
I'm beyond like canceling shows to do this stuff. As long as we all work together,
I get it.
do some. Or if these are the last ones, awesome way to go out. Who
Yeah,
knows? I
of
don't
course.
know. None of us do. I don't think.
Sure. So the book, your new book, Warts and All, incredible, unabashed, a fabulous disaster from the garage to Madison Square Garden the hard way. Firstly, I didn't read it. I listened to it, Gary, because I'm a busy guy. So I listened to it, the audio book. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Um, how cathartic is it, or was it, for you to have done a book?
It was awesome. I mean, it was a labor of love. Like I've
Sure.
had offers and people mentioned wanting, that I should do one for a long time, and I always wanted to, but I just didn't have time. I always wanted to do it 100% myself. But then Adam, my Teppadellin, my co-writer, he did a cover feature on us for Decibel magazine. And it was after that he said, "You thought about doing a book?" And I said, "Well, let's talk a few times and see how comfortable I am, because that's half the battle is when
Opening up.
you reopening up someone." And with him, it was totally comfortable, just peeling scabs off all over the place. It was fucking awesome. I mean, there's so many stories that didn't make it.
Yeah, so there's some. I think you said I know where all the bodies are buried in thrash metal, and you didn't want to
Yeah, if I wanted to sit
you
and
know.
talk about other people's business, but then if I did that, no one will tell me where the bodies are buried anymore.
Got it. So how was it when you wrote it? Obviously, ghostwritten, I suppose, and you sit down and you just literally pour your stories out, and he's busy taking notes. Is that how it is from an?
Yeah, like when we before we even started, I provided Adam with like a whole page of like few word phrases, which would mean nothing to the normal common everyday person, but to me they recount entire tales, because
Sure.
actually it's so weird and we give names to everything.
Yeah.
Like, and so he would ask me, what about this? And I'm like, oh yeah, like, I didn't have to write a long, detailed reminder of a story. It could be 2 words, and like it
Yeah.
would click everything. And then we just went chronologically through everything, start to finish. I mean, the book's done really well. Maybe we do a follow-up book that's just stories, because this
Yeah.
was like the life story, but there's tons of like just humorous, funny shit that didn't make it.
Well, you could do something like, I suppose, like a murder in the front row, but more a book with all the stories. Like,
Yeah,
because
yeah, just tales of terror.
I was going to mention that awesome documentary, Murder in the Front Row. What a great watch that was. You like hosted the film, shall we say? What was that like for you?
Well, the whole book was like, done by our longtime friends, Brian Liu and Harold Oyman. It was like our high school yearbook
Yeah,
anyway, we lived it. And the movie couldn't have come out better. And like we were all there like in mass for the premiere in San Francisco. It was like so much fun.
yeah, but
And like, us exit, like myself and Rick, we were like that annoying person in the movie theater who just keeps yelling at the screen, like, oh, that's, like every time something happened, we like commenting and everybody's laughing at us because we were so excited. But it's amazing. I love it.
just going back to the book. You've written a book. What's the weirdest, strangest thing someone said about you over the years?
I don't know. I don't know. I've been lucky. I haven't had a lot of weird, strange things said about me. I
That's
mean,
good.
I've met a lot of weird, strange fucking people. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, for
Had a
sure.
guy in Norway or hand me a bag with a dead cat in it because he thought I'd be like cool with that. I was not cool with that.
No,
I was fucking pretty fucking pissed.
yeah, that's what the fuck. That's nuts.
Like I found this on the road for you. Like I guess reputation. This is way before the internet, right? So people get their ideas of your reputation via whatever, like over the top interview did in some fanzine, with Bailoff, and so the guy thought Gary and Bailoff would appreciate roadkill, and we did
Yeah,
not appreciate it.
no,
We were fucking
no,
pissed.
not. I think Ted Nugent might, but no one else.
Yeah, but yeah, as far as myself, what a weird thing, it's like in this day and age of the internet and everything just made up news online. Of course, everybody thinks I'm super rich. I'm like, that's why I sell Kill the Kardashian shirts out of my office, right?
Yeah,
Because I'm so rich. And when I say I sell them, I sell them. I
yeah. I
pack
know you
them
do. I
up.
know, and we'll get into that. It's
Yeah, look,
perfect
there's
segue. That
mailers right on the floor,
I love
right
this.
next to
This
me.
is this is perfect segue because there's a couple of things I want to talk about. Your merch, and also want to talk about the Kardashians thing. Where did that come from? That what was that? What the
Oh,
original?
I had a really good friend of mine who since passed away. I used to just rant about them women. Like I couldn't believe people watch this shit and they're fucking famous for nothing and all that. And so he had a shirt made for me that said "Kill the Kardashians," and I wore it on stage, and it just took on a life of its own.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Did one of the Kardashians wear Slayer top or an Exodus top?
I think that's where it really started because one of the Jenners was photographed wearing a Slayer shirt. But
Right.
I think she also, in an interview, I could be wrong, but I think she had said that she couldn't understand how anybody listens to this shit.
All right. Fair enough.
You're
Yeah, she
wearing it, but
deserves it.
you,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
So like that's why you always see that meme someone made of like, it's great seeing celebrities support each other, and it was her wearing the shirt and then me
That's
wearing
right.
the Kill the
Yeah. That's
Kardashian.
brilliant. That's brilliant.
I mean, I wish no
No, of course, I
ill
know you
will on
don't.
them. To me,
I
it's
know.
more of a statement against the
Yeah.
hundreds of millions of people who like would follow someone for what reason? I don't
Fully
know.
understand.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's shocking to me that we become so obsessed with the idea of fame, being famous
Mm,
or being wealthy or faking it. You know, like you see
mm,
people like they'll like do a photo shoot on a private plane and pretend they're sitting there eating caviar, and then they
yeah.
get off the plane and leave. Like I saw a video of a guy pretending he was getting off his private helicopter, but you know, you could see when you saw the whole video, you saw that he walked up near the door
You just
and then
pretended.
kind of holding his bag and did a turn like he had just gotten off it. Like,
God. Yeah,
you know,
it's
make
annoying.
it till you make it. And the
Yeah,
sad thing is that people are making it. People
yeah.
are getting rich
From
off
that,
pretending to be rich. It's fucking
exactly.
ridiculous.
And talking about your merch as well, because obviously it's awesome and it's a great way for fans to be able to connect with you, buy some real history, some rock and roll history as well. You're very in touch with your fans. How important is that connection for you?
Yeah, it's very important. You know, I always try to treat people how I want to be treated. You know, I do connect with people through it, and you know, and it helps. You know, keep the bills paid, especially during the pandemic. It was like instrumental, like me, like not fucking losing everything since I couldn't tour. You know,
Yeah,
and then, you know, like my wife and I, we just come up with new ideas, you know, like she came up with the idea for the Richard Ramirez one with the
yeah,
live, laugh, love.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then we like, all right, we found the high school Dahmer picture and we did the eat, pray, love. But we chose to use the high school photo of him because he looked so innocent.
yeah, yeah,
And, but then, you know, we had one that was like one of my favorite shirts, and it was a flop. And that was the Teamwork Makes the Dream Work with Leonard Lake and Charles Ng, who are two of the sickest serial killers. But outside of California, I guess they're just not very well known.
That's
But the
funny.
new Zodiac killer, hey baby, what's your sign, has been real popular.
Away from music, Gary, you're a sports guy, right?
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately,
I mean, you like, I mean, I'm a big Chicago Bears fan. I'm a big NFL fan, me. So you got the 49ers. How you do it? How are you going to crack on next season? You got Brock Purdy. How's it going to go?
you know, I'm not worried about our offense as long as we get guys back healthy. I'm much more concerned about lack of depth due to the Trey Lance fiasco.
Yeah, yeah,
Brock
yeah,
Purdy saved Shanahan and Lynch's jobs
yeah,
because if they hadn't lucked out on him, they would all been fired. You
yeah,
trade three first round picks for a guy who's not even on the team anymore, you know,
yeah.
and they've had so many failed high draft picks.
Mm.
And, you know, to the point to where when they get lucky with a Fred Warner and guys like that, I'm convinced it's just, you know, George Kittle, I'm convinced it's dumb luck.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
if you were good enough to spot him, why are you failing when they get it like these top five picks like
yeah.
Solomon Thomas?
Get
You
it.
know, like the guy's not earning a second contract. But I do like our rookie class. I think they drafted really well this year, and if these rookies show up and play well, we'll be fine.
Is it just football for you? I can see a baseball bat behind you.
Basketball, baseball, yeah.
The whole
I
the
don't really
whole
watch hockey.
the whole nine
You know, I
yards, you were
mean,
saying.
we've had a team in the Bay Area for forever
Yeah,
now, but you know, I watch it when the Sharks, you know, are in the playoffs.
sure,
If you
sure.
know, but Golden State Warriors, Giants, and Niners.
Nice, nice. Is that what you do? Is that your total relaxation? Is it sport? Is that what you would
A
chill
little
out
bit.
with?
It's not like it used to be. I don't dedicate the time I used to like watching it. Like I'll watch the Niner games, but I used to get up and watch the Sunday morning game and then the afternoon game and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
Sunday
yeah.
football. So there's 9 fucking hours of a
I
day
know.
spent watching football.
You try doing that,
And
Gary, when you're in Spain and you got to watch it at 7 at night, 10 at night, and 2 in the morning. It's hard.
no,
I
because
don't know.
I'll just watch it through the
Difficult.
DVR thing and watch it at a reasonable hour now.
Right. Okay.
And
Fair
now,
enough.
like Sunday, if I want to go somewhere, if my wife wants to go somewhere, I'll just record it and watch
Catch
it
it
when I get
later.
home.
Got
You
you.
know,
Got you. Now, going
I
back
try
to
not to like be so focused on
sure.
watching millionaires run around.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I suppose. Now, can we go back to Exodus and this cover of Scorpions? He's a woman, she's a man. Great cover. And obviously, you're a big Scorpions fan, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Greatest German band of all time.
So I'm a massive Scorpions fan as well. Herman Rebel is a friend of mine. I think you might have wrote that
Oh,
track
right
actually.
on.
And
He's
Herman's
awesome.
great. He's awesome. And I wanted to ask you, who would be on your metal or your rock and metal Mount Rushmore? Four faces. Doesn't have to be a band. Just four people that maybe influenced
Um,
you. Or I know it's tough, but I want to see what you're gonna
I
say.
always tell people the guitar player Mount Rushmore is Chuck Berry, Jimi Hendrix, Eddie Van Halen, and Yngwie Malmsteen.
Right. Okay.
Because they're the only guitar players who changed the course of the river, you know, who diverted the water flow into a new outlet, like there's a
Yeah.
million. I mean, my two favorite guitar players aren't listed on my Mount Rushmore, and that's Blackmore and Schenker, because they didn't change everything that came after. Ingvar's a giant dickhead, but his talent is indisputable, and
Yeah.
he changed guitar playing forever. Like
Mm.
even like he was so heavily Blackmore influenced,
Yeah.
and
Sure.
Eddie changed the gear we use, not
Yeah.
just not just playing, but the technological side of things too.
Got you.
Amps and guitars and hot rodded Strats and pioneering the Floyd Rose and everything
Mm.
else.
Mm.
So those are my guys.
So with all the good stuff with music, what's your most unpopular musical opinion? Or do you have an unpopular musical opinion?
Mine, I'm not an Eric Clapton fan.
Right. Okay. Why?
People get mad at me. I don't know. Like I think most of his career he did cover songs, and
True.
I mean, I respect him. His tone is great, and he's a good player, but he's not one of the greats. Give me Alvin Lee any day.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I see.
Talking about the early era, Alvin Lee at Woodstock destroyed everybody.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
close. His fucking rendition of fucking Going Home was just fire. It's
Mm.
awesome.
Now, what would your death row meal be?
Death Row meal. Something Mexican. I love Mexican food. It's my favorite. I could live off it every day. Maybe
Okay.
it would have to be a certain one. Like last time we were in Medellin, Colombia, we were there for like 3 days, and we found this a taco joint in Colombia that had the best al pastor tacos I've ever had in my life. I ate them
Nice.
for 3 straight days. I would take those.
How was your stomach after all those tacos?
Oh, it was fucking awesome.
What do you prefer more, Gary? Do you prefer the studio or the stage?
I like both. A lot of guys don't like being in the studio. A lot of guys get on stage and they look like they only want to be in the studio, because they don't quite act the fool like some of us do.
Sure.
I love being on stage, but I love the creative aspect of being in the studio. I love the writing, the recording, the overdubs. I love all of it.
Mm.
I'm could sit in the studio for a long time.
Yeah, of
But
course.
also I don't ever want to like fuck around with shit to the point in the studio to where I feel it's lost its vibe.
I get it. I get
Like
it.
I'll allow rhythm tracks to like get through, which aren't always 100% perfect. But to me, it sounds more live that
Mm.
way. It's more real, and I'm perfectly capable of making mathematically perfect rhythm tracks. But sometimes it's like, the vibe's there and it sounds raw and it sounds bigger.
Yeah, get it. Now, obviously, the album's in the distance, but what's happening this summer for you? Obviously, you got Slayer. What's happening? How many Exodus shows you got? What's happening for the rest of the year?
Well, I go to Europe and then we come home and we're working on some stuff for later in the year, but I'm gonna have like most of the summer at home, the later summer, July and August, so I'm excited for that. Go to
Nice,
the lake with the grandkids, and my wife and my daughter, and take them out and do fun stuff and be a grandpa, put the
nice.
guitar down for a while.
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice. So, when do you think we can expect the new Exodus? Is it definitely going to be 2026? Is it early 26?
It'll be early 26, yeah, like February, we're talking.
Awesome. Well, listen, Gary, thanks so much for joining me. It's awesome to chat with you. Enjoy the rest of the year. Can't wait for the new Exodus, and I'll see you at the Slayer show in London.
No worries, Dan. Talk to you
Super.
later, man.